somewhere around the 80 to 90% were literally taken out the game. We have seen a lot more suppression of results than we have seen of actually boosting results.
What Parasite SEO is?
I could sit here for an hour giving you like a step-by-step theory into practice tutorial, and for some reason half the SEO industry still will not get this. Get a tool that literally does it for you. So we not only created like an analyzer, but we have an AI strategy planner that will give you a campaign brief. You will make millions of dollars in a year. Data is your number one friend. This is experimental, and it's going to be even better. You just don't want to do it in the first place. This will literally generate ideas for your product, and the more information you input, the better output. But you should still edit this, and you should not build this from out the box.
Hello and welcome to the link of our YouTube channel with me, Chris Pantelli, and my very, very special guest today, Mr. Charles Floate.
Hey Chris, thanks for having me. What's up, ladies and gentlemen at home?
How's it going?
Yeah, it's going well, thank you. I've just been grinding away as per usual, not sleeping too much, but it's been going very well with all the recent launches and everything is actually on time.
Well, that's exactly why I wanted to have you on, because the output for a single individual is somewhat incredible. You've got so much going on, so I wanted to get you on. First of all, to get a high-level view of the state of affairs with the search landscape, and then if you could give my audience a deep dive into some of the tools that you've launched. I know we've got a Cuppa relaunch coming out as well soon. Do some screen shares, get granular on some of the stuff that people can do. So let's start with the current state of Google search and what's going on in the wider world of online marketing.
Yeah, for sure. So the main recent news in SEO obviously is the August core update has just kind of wrapped up in the last week or so. And whilst we did see some absolutely tremendous recoveries, generally speaking, we didn't really see that much change that I think people were hoping for from the helpful content updates of September and March. So in SEO, unfortunately, I would say realistically, somewhere around the 80 to 90% mark of bloggers and niche site owners, and maybe even affiliate SEOs, were literally taken out the game over the last 12 months or so, specifically from that September helpful content update and onwards. A lot of people have been trying everything in their wheelhouse, everything in their power to get back into these SERPs. However, it seemed that Google had baked in that classifier into the algorithm, and that classifier was site-wide punitive. So it would essentially, if 20, 30 of your pages were bad and caught up in that classifier, all your pages got wrecked. Now, from the last update, a lot of sites have recovered. However, that recovery, generally speaking, is 10% of the traffic that they had pre to the September update. So they haven't really recovered the majority of the traffic that they had. They just now have the ability to rank, from what we can tell, some pages. So instead of the classifier being site-wide punitive, now it does have some room, at least from what we can tell, to allow some pages to rank. So in SEO, generally speaking, previously, a lot of the methodology of niche sites, affiliate sites, that kind of stuff, the big courses even that these people had kind of founded their careers on for some of the influencers in the game, those didn't work, that style didn't work. Now, it has some room to work, but generally speaking, Google has fundamentally changed the intent of some of the SERPs. And that means that style of page will not ever rank again unless you are a DR90 or a DR95, a gigantic authority. There's always exception for authority in SEO. So Google doesn't treat the gigantic sites in the game the same as everybody else. They are literally playing a different game in the algorithm to all of us. So as a result of that, in the last 12 months, Parasite SEO has also gone through the goddamn roof. So whilst SEO is harder than it has ever been for your own little website, it's arguably easier than it's ever been to just manipulate somebody else's website with your own pages, right? So that's why we have ended up building parasiteseo.com. That's why I've ended up building a couple of the other tools that we're in. But generally, I'm trying to pivot towards whatever Google is doing, right? So I have always fundamentally put my career as an adaptability-based foundation and making sure that whatever Google is doing, I am going to be able to, and I'll be honest here, exploit it to its fullest potential, right? And that just means whichever signal Google is overriding, which for the last 12 months has been user-generated content, so Reddit, Quora, forums, things like that, I was just hopping on and going down that trend, and I will continue to do that as the next months and years progress on, right?
Okay, right. So that's going to lead us on perfectly, I think, to look at Parasite SEO. But before we do, just one question. With the recoveries, obviously you were talking in broad terms. We have seen some almost back to where they were recoveries, few and far between, but it has been seen. Many sites have seen further declines and bottomed out. What's your view on the fact that we're seeing certain sites, without mentioning names, the people that seem to throw their toys out of the pram the loudest, seeing like quite remarkable recoveries? Is Google manually going in and making adjustments for certain sites, House Fresh, certain sites like that? What's going on there?
Yeah, so number one, I understand how Google's algorithm actually fundamentally works. So there is no way that Google could manually go in and tweak certain domains without massively overdoing them. So I'm not talking they're going to recover their traffic back. Even if you give it a tiny little speckle of additional boost, that boost in comparison to all the other sites is such an extreme velocity that you will see extreme rises. So they cannot do that, right? What they can do is they can suppress content. So that's very easy. And that they can say there's multiple reasons for it. We've seen it with recent elections and stuff, and I hate getting political, but unfortunately, we have seen a lot more suppression of results than we have seen of actually boosting results, I would say. I don't actually agree that there has been any artificial boosting of results. I do 100% agree that there's been artificial suppression. However, what you can do is, because it's a classifier and because it's trained on data, is all you have to do is add some of those pages in that were complaining the loudest to the good training data set, and suddenly those sites will get the boost that they saw, right? And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a site-wide recovery. They can manually go in and say, okay, these are the best pages. These are the ones we're going to add into the classifier, and that's why we're seeing results on specific pages versus entire site-wide recoveries. And there have been some examples where literally one specific page has gone to the absolute moon on a site. People are claiming the site has recovered, but it's one page that is ranking exponentially well versus every other page hasn't actually moved. Right? So that would also again lead into my thoughts that they've baked in some of those pages into the good classification, and I think that's why this algorithm was also so weird. Right? So there's been several reports from a lot of people, and I've got it in my own data. I just try not to show my own data because I don't like the ability for Google to reverse engineer stuff, and I'm quite paranoid. But I've seen a lot of data where the SERPs for the last few weeks have just gone boom, 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 like that, right? Every single day, it's new pages ranking, new pages not ranking. It's just all over the shop. And that would lead me to believe that Google is doing ongoing testing during the update. So it wasn't even 100% sure that this is the update they wanted to fully roll out. They were still doing tweaks and ongoing testing as it was rolling out. And that's why some sites saw insane recoveries, insane drops, and it was just all over the place, which isn't consistent with a normal algorithm update. Sometimes you will see, gigantic swings at the beginning and the end, but not normally right in the middle of the update, right? That's when stuff starts to settle more.
Right. It's been a weird time though, hasn't it? It really has. Yeah. Okay. So let's get on to Parasite SEO. Google said that they were going to be cracking down on website domain reputation abuse. So first of all, for those that don't know, explain to us what Parasite SEO is. Explain to us what Google said they were going to do to stop it from happening, and then explain to us why you've released a tool that aims to completely utilize the fact that you can still benefit from Parasite SEO, and then give us a walkthrough on how people can use it and how cool the tool is. And also, I'm guessing, is it Yudish that was behind the site design for this? Because it looks fire.
So okay. I appreciate it, thank you. So Yudish and I built the landing page for the site ourselves, and then we have another dev that does the actual React UX, so the dashboard and stuff like that.
Okay.
So to answer your question from the start. Parasite SEO, right, was originally not even called Parasite SEO. So actually it was back in 2007, I was reading a blog called bluehatseo.com by Eli, and this guy was way ahead of his time. He was probably the best SEO blog back in those days by a margin, right? He came out with this blog post called Parasite Hosting, where he figured out that if you could get files hosted on very authoritative root domains, so back in those days, you used to be able to get like file hosting. So if you think about like Mega Upload, or you think about like cPanel and things like that, you used to be able to literally upload files and it would be on a root domain. He figured out that some allowed you to upload raw HTML, or some allowed you to upload pages, or some would even be Web 2.0 style, which would actually allow you to create mini microsites on the root domain. And that would then allow you to use that root domain essentially as your own root domain to abuse the fact that Google relies so heavily on PageRank, which at the time, PageRank was still a thing. It was still very heavily relied on. And because these sites were, PR 9 out of 10s, PR 10 out of 10s, you would massively outrank, the PR 3 out of 10s, the PR 4 out of 10s. And you can kind of do the correlation with DR, where it's just the same DR range, like DR 0 to 10, DR 10 to 20, that kind of thing. But it was taking the fact that you could abuse that root authority that Google had put so much reliance on and allow you to rank these pages. We then kind of adapted that strategy and put it more into the fact that you could buy sponsored posts on these sites. So instead of finding sites that you could exploit to build pages on, we would just go and contact these sites and say, hey, how much is a sponsored editorial? And a lot of these sites, for the price of the sponsored editorial, you can make that same amount back per day in the commissions that you would earn just from ranking number one for that keyword, right? So it was very, very scalable. And this has been a tactic since 2007. It's just gotten more and more and more powerful because Google has relied so much on link and root authority as a signal for basically everything. It's like an anti-spam signal, it's a trust signal, it's a root ranking signal, it's a direct ranking signal, it's a link ranking signal. It's all sorts of these things mashed into one, that it is the most reliant on thing that Google has in their algorithm. So we just abuse that, right? And then last year, Google decided with helpful content that sites of that DR range were excluded from the helpful content classifier. So whilst everybody else who was on these small little niche site blogs got absolutely wrecked, went to zero, that kind of thing, you could just go and pick up all of the keywords that they lost by buying posts on outlookindia.com, right? So it was very, very, very easy, right? We decided to build a tool because half the SEO industry, for some reason, just do not get it, right? However well I explain it, I could sit here for an hour giving you a step-by-step theory into practice tutorial, everything there, and for some reason, half the SEO industry still will not get this, right? I think they're just so ingrained in doing SEO for their own website that it feels wrong to do it for anything but your own site, right? Yeah. So we found it, the best solution for that was to just get a tool that literally does it for you. So we not only created like an analyzer, but we have an AI strategy planner that will give you a campaign brief. So you literally just need to, the AI says go and build these 4 paid parasites, these 7 free ones, use this content brief, promote this offer, use this amount of word count, these kind of thing, right? You literally just follow that to the exact T, and you should rank very, very well and make a very decent commission, right? So we tried to make the tool as easy as possible because we genuinely thought there was a barrier to entry, and it seems like there is, that our tool kind of solves as well.
Okay. So the middle question I had just before we get into this is Google publicly said that they were going to crack down on this site reputation abuse. So what have they done? Why is it still working? What haven't they done for it to still be working? Yeah,
so Google tends to react based on PR, to be fair. So a lot of what they say and do is just a reaction for PR or for propaganda. They're not actually actively doing X a lot of the time. Like, they're not investing millions of dollars in combating Parasite SEO. They could do, but they're not, and they never have done, right? They're just going to release stuff to scare a portion of the community into not using it, and that means a lot of the SERPs are then not affected by X because people just aren't using X, right?
Okay.
What they actually did was they went into certain SERPs, and the biggest one was the casino SERPs. So, for example, in the UK, the telegraph.co.uk, which is one of the biggest newspapers in the UK, they had a partnership with bettingexpert.com to rank for like best online casino, best no deposit casino, best poker room, things like that, all sorts of keywords. At their peak, they were apparently making $20 to $25 million a month in commissions, right? absolutely insane amounts of money. You know, that's more money than some of the AI startups that are valued at $5-10 million are making already, right? So it's crazy money. Google saw this. Number one, Google were very well aware of what was going on prior to actually ever taking action. But Google saw the Twitter hate. They saw the LinkedIn hate. They were at conferences getting complaints. They were at events having their engineers being hassled on stage. They had all of this stuff, which was just a PR nightmare for their machine. And it also made the white hats have a very hard time of arguing for what Google says, right? If Google says it's all about helpful content, links don't matter, we don't use user click data, then why are these sites ranking number one straight away purely based off links and user click data, right? That's it. So a lot of what Google says doesn't work if this doesn't work. So they have to show that they have done X and that they can let the influencers who are pushing their narrative, they can let them say it doesn't work or that Google has gone after it or it's going to get you penalized. Even though Parasite SEO on somebody else's domain, as long as you never link to your domain, how does that ever get you penalized? So there's a logical gap between it. Google themselves, what they actually did was they went into some SERPs and they contacted sites and said, look, if you do not remove this, we're going to manually penalize it. And they did issue some manual penalties, and it was the first new manual penalty of its kind. It's called spam reputation abuse policy or spam reputation policy abuse, something like that. And when it gets issued, it's at the subfolder level. So it's only the subfolder that you're using for Parasite SEO gets hit. Well, number one, a good portion of the sites don't actually use a specific subfolder when they're selling parasites. It's just on /news or it's just on the root folder or whatever, right? And number two, a lot of the sites that they manually contacted removed it by their own accord. So they did actually just delete the entire pages, and that's why it went to 0, because there's no longer pages there. But then as a result of them only issuing manual penalties, only issuing manual emails, they never actually released any algorithmic side to it.
Okay.
So there's been classifiers and there's been stuff baked into the core updates and the health content updates and all this kind of stuff, but there's never actually been any update specifically released targeting Parasite SEO. So in English, specifically in the US, there's been a lot of sites that were used and abused that no longer really work. But when you go to other languages, those same sites are ranking just as well as they were previously in English, but in some other language, right?
Okay.
I've actually seen it in French the other day. So I was looking at best online casino in French, and I saw 3 of the most hit parasites in English ranking page 1 for French casino keywords. So I don't really like it. That also just proves that Google's hits had nothing to do with the algorithm and that it was just manual classifications and just manual actions, because they're ranking so well in the other algorithms. Also, there's just other sites that have A, picked up on it, or B, that actually were selling sponsored posts and have realized that they can sell parasite posts and that they're just coming onto the game. So if you can be one of the first people to use them or be the only person to have an exclusivity partnership deal with that site, you will make millions of dollars in a year, literally. It's pretty much guaranteed. It's just that easy to manipulate the algorithm right now.
Okay. And some sites, they did have these categories de-indexed, though, didn't they? Where the coupon subcategory was de-indexed across a lot of sites. But what you're saying is you could just find any parasite that would allow you to competitively rank for the coupon keywords where they're not using sub pages. It's just on the root domain, and you can rank a page and make money.
For some reason, the biggest thing that Google hit in Parasite was the coupon stuff.
Yeah.
But 99.9% of people who are doing Parasite SEO aren't doing anything to coupons. So they really hit something that was only used by the biggest brands and that the actual SEOs didn't really use anyway. So again, it's just PR stuff, and it's just this narrative to kind of scare the biggest players into conforming rather than actually taking the action in the algorithm to remove it, because they know they can't, because the algorithm, again, is so reliant on link and root signals. It's so reliant on UGC signals and things like that now that you can just abuse the fact that they're reliant on these things to rank.
Charles, what I want to do now is, you mentioned that many people don't have a good understanding. You could sit there and explain for 2 hours what Parasite SEO is and they still wouldn't have a good understanding. So before you dive in and show us, let me tell you my questions, and then maybe you can give us a breakdown, and then you can show us. Obviously, I think that tool answers a lot of those pain points. So where we have used Parasite ourselves as an agency without revealing any sort of too much detail, is on the free Parasite sites. So LinkedIn, Pulse, Medium. We've got some pages ranking for keywords that are essentially for our services, and they're doing well. They're in spot 1, spot 2 for superb high converting keywords. Now, I don't know how well those actual pages like convert. Like, I would never click on a Medium article if I was Googling something that I wanted a decent answer for. So I don't know, but that's been our experience of Parasite. And we did a bit of Reddit stuff back in the day with, fake accounts just to make a bit of, testing money. But in terms of actual Parasite, where there's millions to be made, my understanding is, first of all, it's still SEO. You're still optimizing for search, and for a highly competitive Parasite keyword, you're going to be competing with other Parasite pages. So therefore, it's not a golden bullet. You don't just go, oh, brilliant, I've managed to negotiate a deal with The Guardian, let's say. It's going to rank number 1 for everything. All I need to do is find an offer, produce a page, put a keyword in, and boom, I'm ranking. You still need to do research on the keyword. It needs to be a keyword for a good offer, and then that offer needs to convert. So I'd love to know more about that, and I'm pretty sure Parasite SEO is going to help me do all of that. Secondly, managing your links. This would always be a concern for me. So you don't own the property, and obviously some of these negotiations for the pages, I imagine they're not cheap. It's not like a £30 sponsored article. It's probably going to be more expensive than that. I think the tool also allows you to look at the cost of opportunities, maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong. So how do we do that? How do we manage the links? Walk me through it.
Yeah, 100%. So first of all, as you correctly said, it's not a golden bullet unless you happen to be the best researcher in the world. And generally speaking, that's because you found a site that nobody else is using yet, or because that genuinely is a pretty good golden bullet for a lot of niches. Because if you've found a site that is yet to be exploited and you are the first one to exploit it, you can scale that exploitation to effectively the moon. The second one is if you're in a niche that nobody has yet to find, right? So There are still a lot of niches out there that are very low competition, and if you go and buy a very big Parasite page, you will rank number 1 for it. And I think the creativity side is where people will get the most out of it, right? So you can be very, very competitive and go down the route of competing for best crypto casino or something like that, right? And compete with other Parasite pages, and it will take you a fortune, take you a long time, take a lot of money, and take a lot of knowledge even. Or you could, for example, go into your local city and take over every keyword that doesn't have a map pack for construction terms and for roofing terms, and for anything where the average lead is worth at least $10,000, right? $10,000 is a low figure for that lead's end value, right? Anything like that, you can build free Parasite pages in, as long as the map pack isn't there, and I've done a video on this for YouTube. As long as the map pack isn't there, you can rank number 1 very easily, very fast, and especially if you can try and find a local newspaper. So if you can find and local normally means local to your city or something. Local in my head means to your geo. So that generally means to your nation. So for example, the UK, France, Canada, Australia, that kind of thing. You go and find a newspaper that hasn't already got anything covering that specific keyword. You create a page for it by normally paying them, and that page will rank number 1, almost guaranteed, right? We've done that repeatedly, and then we normally already have a way to sell those leads. We've already got a system or a connection or a network or a deal or something in place. It's the worst thing you can do is generally do rank and rent with Parasite, because you need the money guaranteed upfront for it to work, for you to actually pay for the pages.
I was just going to say, yes, it's not rank and rent then, and it's not a straight affiliate offer. So what does the mechanics of that look like then? So let's say best construction in my town, Kidderminster, okay? What I'm going to rank for what best construction firms is that?
Well, so again, you have to do research and see which SERPs have got the map packs and which don't, right?
Okay.
So I in my video, I showed that, for example, I showed Dallas as the main city because a lot of people like to go with Dallas. It's just it's Dallas and New York tend to be the main 2 cities that people use as examples, so I just go with Dallas. But I showed that actually, if you Google like best nail salon, best construction company Dallas, all these kind of queries, none of them have map packs actually, or the map packs were like position 4, position 5, below organic results. And in some cases, I actually showed that there's a couple of Parasites already ranking in that city for some of those terms, and that you can make very good money off of those Parasites. The deal side and the structure side is where it's 100% down to you, right? The ultimate top tier deal structure is what Dooley does, James Dooley. And he does equity based on results. So he'll go into a company, be like, look, you have no leads, right? Or your company isn't doing great, right? How would you do if suddenly tomorrow you had 100 leads a month, right? And it's very, very easy to execute those sort of campaigns to a degree that he has, because he's got the teams, he's got the experience, he's got the case studies, he's got all the stuff ready to go, he's got the tools, templates, SOPs, everything ready to go. Normal people, it's not as easy. But again, this is the pinnacle. This is what you want to dream of achieving. He, based on the results that he's getting for that company, gets equity in that company. So if he gets them 100 leads a month, and that's additionally £100,000 of revenue a month, he could get 10%, 20% equity for nothing, right? There's no cash investment. There's no additional stuff. It's purely the additional business and lead generation that he is building for that business. That is the ultimate peak, because you're not only owning the lead capital, but you're actually putting that into passive income for when you sell or exit from that business, right? So if you can grow that business by 50% or 150% in a year's time frame, and the business owner wants to exit in a year's time frame, you've not only got all of the capital that you've got from those leads into the business, but you've made a lot more from actually exiting from that business. That is the pinnacle. That's the ultimate one. The bottom tier is just selling leads, right? Walking into your local plumber, walking into your local construction yard, walking into your local builder's yard, whatever it is. I mean, how much would you pay me if I could get you guaranteed leads tomorrow, right? How much are you paying already if you've got some guaranteed leads that you're buying off? How much are you paying your PPC people to send you phone calls, right? All sorts of that stuff. These questions get answers, and you can start to build an idea of marketability. If you can go in with some calculations in your head, okay, I need to make $30 per lead for this to be profitable, and they turn around and say, oh, we pay $50 per lead, then you know immediately you've got that right. But again, that's the bottom of the barrel. This is kind of the top end. Yep.
Can this be done retrospectively? I assume with almost all Parasite pages, you have no ability to edit once the page is published. So could you produce like an editorial piece that you rank, maybe top 5 nail technicians in Dallas maybe, and have spot 1 is you're linking out to your page where you can collect leads, let's say, or you could position it to look like whatever you want, and then that's the page that you can edit retrospectively as you're building a relationship with a company? Or because
for sure. So with the free Parasites, generally you can edit them. So LinkedIn Pulse, Medium, stuff like that, you can edit them. Even YouTube videos, you can actually edit the video nowadays. With paid Parasites, that's depending on your relationship with the Parasite site, right? So if you've got an exclusive partnership arrangement with them, you should be able to edit all of your pages, no problems, right? It might mean you have to have a middleman, so you've got like the editor or the webmaster or whatever it is that you have to go through, but you should be able to edit those pages 100%. Paid sites where you're buying a guest post, buying a sponsored article, buying an editorial, those generally come with a no edit clause, and the only way you get an edit clause is on the newspaper or the organization's behalf. So that's because you've said something that isn't true, or you've overstated something, or you've gone past the editorial guidelines or something along those lines. You generally don't have any control in your own side. For the local side of things, I don't like the retrospective nature of it, just because you want to have that data to power all of your campaigns, to power your spending, to power everything, right? Initially, you should probably just use free Parasites, right? You should use free Parasites to generate capital and generate experience, knowledge, and data, which then allows you to pour into actually spending money. It also gives you some ability to show clients examples without having to spend money. If you can go and rank tomorrow for a page, right? Again, you can be kind of retrospective in this. You can rank examples, so you can rank 3 pages as examples and then go and show clients. And you could even, if it's a LinkedIn Pulse article, a Medium article, the power of this is that you can walk into their business with your laptop and edit them there and then to be the number 1 post on the site, right? And you can update the page, get them to Google it from their phone, and they're now number 1, which is just mind-blowing for sales, right? Like that is the best sales tactic you can have in SEO. You can't really do that with any other type of SEO. You can with rank and rent, but it's more complicated editing a WordPress site and things. I genuinely believe that it's one of the most powerful things. The only thing, again, I really want to iterate is that the retrospective nature means you don't have data. And data allows you to know how much you can spend for paid parasites. It allows you to know how much commission you're going to earn per traffic. It allows you to know what your conversion rate is, what your CTR is. And again, what you said earlier, where you wouldn't trust Medium or you wouldn't trust LinkedIn, if you go into a niche, right, having that CTR data, having that conversion rate data, having that kind of stuff is an absolute superpower when you want to scale, because you actually then understand, okay, if I go and grow and I can get 10,000 clicks a month from these 20 pages, then I'm actually going to make $1,000 commission, right? Or I'm going to actually make $100,000 commission or whatever it is. But that then allows you to go and invest more into X niche, more into X pages, more into keywords, all that kind of thing. So I always will say, especially if you're just starting out, that data is your number one friend by far in SEO. And that's also why I said, if you have got very strong research skills, you'll do very well in SEO, because you can immediately kind of do all that additional research that everybody else doesn't do. And also there's just a degree of laziness in SEO, I would say as well. So I would say, if you do put in that extra time, that extra bit of effort, that actually 99% of people don't. So you generally have competitors that are weaker from the authority side, they're weaker from the on-page side, they're weaker from the research side. So you have got multiple advantages using this technique and using this style. Okay, right. I'm excited now. So walk us through. It sounds like you've done a lot of the hard work for people with Parasite SEO. Like I said, the site looks great. I saw some of the early videos as well where you doing the walkthroughs. But yeah, this looks like a great starting point for people to go and start building their own pages and making some money. So Charles, please give us a walkthrough and show us how you can get started, and some great examples would be good as well. So just quick question: would you say then that this isn't? My brain's whirring with questions. Just a couple of quick fire questions before we dive in. Is this becoming more difficult for just a straight affiliate play then, as well, in terms of like the terms of that affiliate arrangement with certain programs? Like, will they allow you to post affiliate links on Parasite pages? So that's the question, right? So I would say 95% of programs where you have to get approved with your domain, they don't actually care if you're ever posting on that domain or not. It's just that the metric for the barrier for entry, basically. And that they only want people who have got X, because it allows them to not have to deal with beginners and noobs who are going to ask, stupid questions and all of that kind of reputation damage that generally happens if you let beginners into a platform that's quite complicated. You end up having bad reviews and all sorts of things that are, just negative. You can also have spammers and hackers and things get in, which you don't want as well. So you want to make sure that they own the site as well. So to some degree, yes, you will run into problems, but 95% of the time, and this is only for the programs that will make you actually sign up with a domain, which is again like 10% of programs, sometimes you will run into that issue. So I generally just like to have a read of T&Cs. Sometimes there's an affiliate manager that's available on like Skype or Discord or Slack or something, WhatsApp. I'll speak to them and just say, hey, look, I'm building these pages. Here's a couple of examples. This is all kosher, right? We're all good to go. Stuff like that. So generally speaking, sometimes you do run into these issues, but we tend to not. And then when we do, it's because we have overdone something, right? It's because it's normally not even because we posted on a site. It's because we've overstated something, or the AI has hallucinated and it said that this product does this when it doesn't actually do that at all. So those are more issues that we generally run into. So this is the tool. What I'll do before we actually analyze a keyword is I'll just show you some stuff. So on the left hand side here, and actually again, before I even jump into this tool is in beta. So this will change on the 25th of September. So in about 2 weeks time, this is going to look quite different. What will happen is there will be another drop down box here, which will say mode. So you'll actually be able to click the mode that you want to go into. So for example, you could do local Parasite SEO, you could do online reputation management, you could do e-commerce. We're even creating a mode to manipulate SGE and AI overviews with Parasite SEO. So there's going to be a separate campaign kind of builder mode, which will then give you additional input. So for example, with local SEO, you'll be able to put in your own business, your own GMP, stuff like that, maybe some city names, stuff like that. For ORM, you'll be able to actually put in the competitors that you're dealing with and stuff like that. So when we're in the tool, you can go to the left-hand side and I'll just show you straight away the trending data. So what you get with this tool is every week, so every 7 days, our tool will update and it will show you the top 10 best free parasites and the top 10 best paid parasites for a category. So I could click on CBD and cannabis, for example, and it's going to show me the top 10 free parasites in CBD and cannabis and the top 10 paid parasites in CBD and cannabis. And I always get questions when I show people this. They're like, how is 420magazine.com in free parasites? I thought I'd have to do a guest post on 420magazine.com. 420magazine.com. Well, my good friend, if you click 420magazine.com, our scraper is picking it up because of this area, right? So instead of doing a Parasite guest post, it's picking it up that you can actually use the forum. So our scraper does a lot of this, where it will pick up sites that you can abuse through the CMS, because it's a known forum CMS that you can exploit for Parasite SEO. So that's kind of a bit behind the scenes, but it will do this for every single category that we have here, so you can go through and just check your top 10 parasites every single week and just immediately know which ones are the best for your category. We've also got projects, so you can go through and very simply create a project for each of your keywords here. We've got bulk analysis. You can put in up to, I think on this plan it's 50, I'm on the monster plan, but if you're on the Kraken plan it's up to 500. So you can actually bulk check 500 different keywords for parasites, build AI campaigns for all of them, that kind of thing. And then we've got the training. So you can go in and you can see, currently we've got the fundamentals module number 1, which is by me, and we're going to have the additional modules releasing on September 15th. And then we've got the app basics by James Oliver. So you'll be able to go through and you can just check the different videos for each of the different kind of areas of the tool here as well. If we go back to the actual main tool itself, what I can do is I can just put in a keyword. So I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here, Chris, even though you're the interviewer here. And do you have any keyword examples that I can put into the tool?
Let's go best podcast microphones.
Okay, what a good keyword. So what the tool will do is it will actually scrape the top 100 keywords, so the top 100 pages for this keyword, and it will find all of the parasites that it has got. So it's got Reddit, YouTube, LinkedIn post from the Stuart guy, LinkedIn Pulse, AVS forum, YouTube, a Quora post, some of the stuff here. And it's saying that there's no paid parasites, which actually is probably a pretty good thing for us, considering it will allow us to actually go ahead and build some paid parasites for us. The scoring will actually tell you the number of free parasites and the number of paid. This is going to basically say how powerful the current pages are in the SERP for Parasite, and this is the opportunity score. So it's not that high of an opportunity score because there's only 20 parasites that are here, and then there's 10 paid. But this is again limited by my plan. So if I have the Kraken plan, there's going to be 20 in here, and we're hoping to increase that number as time goes on. So I can go over here in free, and it will tell me that steamcommunity.com is a good one. It will tell me that Reddit's a good one. It will tell me that Apple support community is a good one. I go to paid. It will say that Boston Magazine, Times of India, Washington City Paper, TechTimes.com, Chicago Reader, a bunch of other ones. So I can actually go through and just start either manually choosing some of these and contacting them, or I can actually go through onto here and it will show me the contact info if it's available. But because we're in beta, as soon as this beta ends, what we actually have that's already shipped, and it is available now, it's just not stable, so we haven't shipped it live, is underneath the contact area, it will give you pricing information, and it will give you marketplaces that you can go and buy those site links from. So you can go and buy a Parasite post from WhitePress, for example, and it'll give you a button with how much it costs on WhitePress's marketplace. But we're also going to hopefully try and have 4 or 5 of the biggest marketplaces, so you can get a view of the price range and just see who is the cheapest and who has the quickest ETA as well. So like I said, the tool does a lot of it for you for beginners, because obviously if you're a complete beginner and you're looking at this, it's quite a lot of information. It's quite overwhelming. You don't really know where to begin necessarily. So what you can do is you can save the project over here, and I'll just save it to YouTube example for this one. And coming soon as well, I can actually export it. So this is available at the end of beta on September 25th. I'll be able to export all this to CSV or TSV. But because I've saved the project here, I could share it. So this actually gives me a copyable link that I can then send to people, and this then shows them the dashboard. So if I'm working in a team or anything, I can share the link. Or I can click the AI button here, and this will take between 30 and 60 seconds. So we're going to be here a little while while this thing spins for a little bit. So I've got to talk a bit to just maintain the level of waitingness here that we have. However, what it's going to do at the end is it will give you a complete AI campaign brief. So it's literally going to tell you, this is the number of sites I recommend, this is the content brief, this is the current SERP, this is the current pages that this is the current page that are ranking, all of that kind of stuff, right? So it's going to give you a complete one. And again, this is experimental, and it's going to be even better at the end when V1.0 releases on September 25th, but it already does the job for beginners out the box.
Awesome. And this AI overview as well is going to give recommendations for the free parasites available, the target keywords. Okay, cool. That's brilliant. And then obviously, are you still doing competitor analysis on what's currently ranking in the SERPs and optimizing your content using a tool like Surfer or whatnot, or are you just really relying on the Parasite to do all of the heavy lifting for you?
Yeah, so 100% you always still want to do the on-page optimization and everything else. You still need to give it the ability to rank, right? And in competitive niches, you're wanting to go above and beyond. The beauty of Parasite is that you can actually over-optimize. So a lot of the time, because you're dealing with these very, very big, powerful sites, the level of content that you would have on these sites can be way more tuned and over-optimized for keywords than you would have on your own website, for example, right? So a lot of the time what we're doing is especially with maybe the parasites that aren't, the number one most powerful parasite being recommended to build, with the secondary 2, 3, 4 most powerful parasites, we're often optimizing them for slightly different variations across the board. So that what happens is that each page ends up ranking number one, but for different long tails every single time. So that we end up taking all of the long tails across the board with different pages, and then the main keyword, we're number 1, we're number 3, we're number 4, we're number 7, we're number 9, we're number 11, things like that as well, right? So we're actually taking multiple SERP realty, we're taking over number 1 positions for all of our keyword variants, and hopefully we're future-proofing ourselves against SGE so that we're actually able to control the SGE output as well. What I can do is on here, I'll show you, because what you just said was analyzing the existing sites. This doesn't have many existing ones here already. So what I can do is I know a keyword that is very popular, which is Fitspresso. And this is a very, very popular affiliate keyword at the moment. And I guarantee you there'll be some paid parasites right in here. Yep, 10 paid parasites, 23 free ones. So I can immediately go to free parasites, and it's going to show me here a load of YouTube videos and stuff. Paid parasites, I can immediately see JPost is already ranking here. So I know that this is a parasite article. And I can go through and have a look. And I know that this here is a parasite affiliate link, as you can see here by the fitliving.com in the bottom left there. So yeah, I can go in and analyze all the existing parasites and see why I think they're not ranking. And immediately looking at this one, I see that they don't really have any H2s. It's just all of this, which I think is a H3. Or it's not even, I think it's bolded. So yeah. So straight away, I see holes in the content optimization for this page, and that this page I think is already ranked number 13 or number 16. So if we did optimized content with maybe like buffzone.com or one of these other sites here, we should be able to actually completely outrank this and be on page 1, maybe even top 3 straight away with no links and stuff, right? Straight out of the box.
Charles, can you compete with existing parasites? So that JPost, which is in position 13, if you happen to have a good relationship with the guys at JPost and you could get an article for a good price, could you go in and obviously you just noticed there that there was some optimization opportunities with H2s and whatnot. Could you produce a post to try and rank number 1, but would there be that duplicate content on the Jerusalem Post issue or not?
So this page, this site actually has 2 pages ranking.
Okay.
Number 16 and number 20. I would say that because it has these 2 pages ranking, they're probably cannibalizing each other. And especially because they're on the same subfolder, I would say that's even more the case. So if there was only one of these articles, you are probably going to be looking at top 10, right? So I would probably not build a post on a site that already has it, but you can do, right? You can outrank a page that's already there. It's just, again, you're having to go above and beyond. So if it's already got the history, the links, the content, the social signals, all of that kind of stuff, you have to do more to beat it. And there's a very little known thing that I think I probably taught you about, because it's actually called link inversion, right? Where it actually matters whichever page has the most authority, not whichever page was the first, right? So you can, if you often build internal links from other pages on the site, which again costs more money, or if you just build some links to the page. Those are generally the 2 ways. But again, if that page already has links, already has history, all that kind of stuff, it's a lot harder to do that. Okay.
And I suppose the ultimate end result for Parasite SEO using your tool is you own the whole first page of the SERP for any given keyword, and then it's just, that's the dream.
Yeah. then any search gives, puts money in your back pocket, right?
Yeah.
That's the aim, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on Parasite SEO then? I want to people, obviously, I think there's 2 reasons people don't dive into this. Many of us are not invested in multiple projects. Like we have maybe one baby in a side project, and so that tends to exist on our own domains, and when we're looking at new opportunities, it's to extenuate our existing projects. So that's probably one of the reasons why people are less inclined to jump into something, even though obviously the opportunities are there, and many people will possess all of the skills necessary to implement and execute like this sort of strategy, especially with your tool doing like much of the heavy lifting for them. I think the other reason is just because of those additional steps of like negotiating, the outreach. There's quite a few different variables that you need to bring together. But the way that you've explained it today, I think it's definitely something which people can start and have a play with. Anything else on Parasite SEO to tell the listeners?
Like I said earlier, there's going to be a new mode area here going forward. However, Parasite SEO doesn't even need to necessarily be black hat, right? So you can use it for online reputation management. So for example, if I put my name into here, what it's going to come up with is a bunch of parasites that I can actually use. So it's going to automatically categorize me here on the right hand side, and it already shows a couple articles that I've actually paid for my digital PR. So they are correct in that is Parasite. But it's going to show me a couple different ones that I can use that are free and that are paid. So it's even going to come up with Warrior Forum, which is a fantastic example of a parasite that I would use for my own name. But you can use it for online reputation management. So you can use it to create pages that rank for names, that rank for properties, entities, businesses, brands. And especially when you're dealing with things like bankruptcies or dealing with companies going bankrupt or going into administration, personal bankruptcy filings in the US, all of that kind of stuff. It's really, really powerful. And a lot of the time you can use the free parasites like I just showed. You don't even necessarily need to pay for some of the parasites. With the ORM stuff, it's all free. And there are so many opportunities that it's almost unlimited, right? So you can also use all the social profiles, all the other stuff on top of this. And what we're hoping to do is soon have that mode which will allow you to kind of choose, and will give you a lot better recommendations. But like I said, out the box, it already does a lot of that stuff for you.
That's awesome. And as well, obviously we're white hat digital PR link builders, but I could definitely see this as a way of being an additional tool in your arsenal to control the AI narrative. So the training data that the bots are looking at, like the more information you can seed into the web where you control the narrative, the more beneficial it's going to be to you as a personal brand or you and your business, whatever it is that you want to control. So the opportunity is there. That's awesome.
Yeah, 100% exactly.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to just some more white hat waters. Just now we've dived into the awesome world of Parasite SEO. Let's just go into Topical Map AI, which is your other project, which is going really well. And obviously, do topical maps then still work in ranking, in SEO? How important are they, and how can your tool help people implement using topical maps?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a big debate at the moment between like topical authority. Does it exist? Does it not in SEO? I think it's stupid to say that it doesn't exist. There's many cases of sites with literally like one link for the entire domain, and it's ranking very well, purely off the basis that the content is all matching one topic, and it's all very well done, and it's internally linked and all that kind of stuff, right? I think when it comes to topical mapping, most people are just executing it wrong, and B, it's so tedious and boring and manual that you just don't want to do it in the first place. Who has the time and the mental willpower to sit in front of their screen for 30 hours manually mapping out every single keyword in their topic, making sure the intent is matched, making sure everything is linked, making sure you've got the page properly done, making sure the relevancy is there, all of that kind of stuff, making sure you can even rank in the first place with the type of page you're trying to do for that individual keyword across 50,000 keywords. People just don't have that time to do it, right? So it gets written off because it's so boring, it's so tedious, and Google is so reliant on links anyway that a lot of the time it feels unnecessary, and it feels like you're doing all this stuff for no point because Google doesn't reward it out the box. With that being said, there are plenty of ways to use topical maps for SEO purposes that are fantastic. When it comes to non-SEO stuff, they're even better, which is what we've been trying to do with the tool. The tool itself, currently, we have got 4 options, but the question maps are coming out, I think, in about a week. But everything else is done, product idea maps and beta. So, as we just said, SEO maps would be the first one. You can essentially choose whatever map name you want, then you input your niche, and your niche is your seed keyword. So this is what the tool uses to base your entire rest of your mapping off. So also, number one, you can do it in a bunch of different languages. We've got loads of languages, we've got loads of countries. All the top 20 GDP per capita countries are covered. Then you can choose your model, and you get the amount of credits that it costs at the bottom, right? So in this specific one, what I'm going to quickly do is go back to maps here. Number one, we have the SEO maps. Like I said, that creates the topical maps for topical authority that everyone is used to. The social maps are really, really interesting because this creates title ideas for content. So basically it maps out content ideas with the titles for content in your niche that is optimized to get high CTR. So it's basically clickbait content ideas for any niche, right? The product idea map, this will literally generate ideas for your product. So I'm going to go with the product idea map first because it's the easiest one to do. And again, you can only use GPT-4 Mini because it's the smallest one. And I'm going to go with fewest, but you could go with a bigger amount of topics. But we can just go with SEO Linkify. Keep English, and we'll go with the US, and I'll just generate the map. So this will actually go ahead and it will start generating a product idea map for the SEO niche. So it will start creating all sorts of interesting things for me. The cool thing with social mapping, for example, is that, like I said, it will give you the title maps for the individual titles that you want to create content around for the niche that you're trying to get traffic from socials or things like Google Discover or Reddit or something like that for, right? And the more information you input, the better output you're going to get for this. And we're going to hopefully just be continually improving this as time goes on. The cool thing that you can do with this map is you can click actions and you can click get cluster map, and that's going to cluster the entire thing into an actual output for you. But what I'm going to do is go back to maps here. When you load a product idea map, it comes back with ideas around the topic. So for example, what it's done is it found local SEO, e-commerce SEO, technical SEO as the main 3 core topics for SEO. Then it has, and bear in mind, I just came up with fewest. So if I'd gone with few, it probably would have counted link building and everything else inside as well. So it's then come up with a mini course, a high ticket course, paid webinars, a paid month membership, ebook, a 3-day challenge, cheat sheet, checklist, and it then gives you types and descriptions for everything, right? Inside the normal maps, what you will be able to do is I'll just do a new map for you here. So I'll create an SEO map. We'll do Linkify testing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in digital PR as an example just for you, and we'll stick with the English UK and we'll stick with global. We'll go with few just so that it doesn't take forever. I'll click edit subtopics before, and I won't generate the cluster view yet, right? So I'm going to go with few, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, because I think this is the best model by far for keyword generation, and I'm going to generate my map. This will take about 2 minutes when I generate it. However, it will then give me all of my subtopics. So what I can do is I can generate more subtopics if I think that there's not enough here, right? Or I can manually add subtopics, or I can edit existing ones. So if I think that they've gone a bit too far with maybe brand storytelling and digital PR, I can just edit this and I can just do brand storytelling, right, for example. And then you can also add additional parent topics, you can add additional subtopics, you can do whatever you want, right? So as long as this looks all good to you, Chris, I think it looks good to me from my side, right? For all of the different subtopics within digital PR, maybe also this one here. So it tends to also, because it comes up with things, it tends to also do like digital PR and things, even though it's just generally the and part is actually the part that you want integrated. So I'll generate this map, and it will take a few seconds to go back into the background, and then it will start generating it.
Do you have to have your own API keys for this then, or is that done on the no?
Yeah, so with Cuppa, right, we wanted to make it API keys because we wanted it to be as cheap as possible so that you can scale to the moon. The issue when you're generating maps here, so I'll show you, right? When you go to maps here, on new map, depending on what you chose to input, depends on your output. And currently, this isn't the only thing we're gonna have, right? So, depending on if you input all of your languages, depending on if you put countries, things like that, it costs us a different amount to scrape different countries than it is just Google US. So like Google Australia, for example, is a tiny bit more expensive than Google US. Claude 3.5 Sonnet is more expensive than the other ones, that kind of thing. What we're wanting to do in the future is plug in even more research stuff. So currently it's already got entities plugged in, it's currently got the search API plugged in, it's currently got loads of other stuff plugged in. We want to plug in even more stuff so that you can start researching things like Google Trend data. You can start researching like social data from like Twitter API and things like that. There's all sorts of stuff that we want to start implementing into this that you can just click yes, no on, right? And you can enable it without having to plug in 20 different API keys. Just for you to be able to use this, if we allowed API keys, it would cost, it would take like 5 different API keys for you to plug into. So it was
right.
way too much time for exactly. It's just more intuitive for users to do this. Also, we do have the credit system at the bottom, so it will just say, you know, whichever system you use and whichever ones you select and things, it will edit the amount of credits that you're actually using. But generally speaking, the average map will cost you under $1 to generate, so it's very, very cheap, and your map is generated, right? So it will come back with all of the different micro topics here, and again, this is dependent on how you input your keyword. So if I input, for example, FenQ reviews, so I input a keyword instead of a topic, it will come back with all of the micro topics as the entities that I want to put for that page. With this, it's come back with all of the micro topics. So these are generally the keywords we're wanting to actually create pages around. The problem is, this map isn't very usable, right? Yes, all of these microtopics, they are microtopics of the actual subtopic, but on its own, this data isn't very usable, right? So what we did, and again, you can do this with one click out the box, it's just that I didn't enable it because I didn't do that setting, is you can click Get Cluster Map. Then again, I can select all of my languages and things. For this, it's just the US and default, and generate the map. That's then going to take a couple of minutes, and it will create my actual sitemap for me. And what we're going to do in the next couple of weeks is bake in the ability to upload your own site into it. So it's not only going to create the custom clustered sitemap for you, it's going to scan your site and build the custom clustered sitemap based on your site structure, based on your existing pages, all of that kind of stuff. And we're hoping that we can either put a WordPress plugin or a JS script into headers so that you can just put it into your site and automatically scrape all of your site pages back to the tool. And that will all be included free in the tool. So it's going to be even better in the next couple of weeks and months, right? But
is there going to be an integration then between Topical Map AI and Cuppa, where the whole thing, that's got to be the end.
There is some, background stuff going on there where we might potentially just literally integrate topical mapping and Cuppa together. However, right now what we're wanting to do is, when you've created this, is there'll be some checkboxes on here, and you can just checkbox which pages you want to send to Cuppa, basically, and it will then be able to create all of these pages for you. But as you see, as I've got in front of me now, it has now created the clustered sitemap. So you get the topic, subtopic, and your primary keyword, but then it also creates your actual pages. So it will create your URL structure, it will create the title, it will create the each keyword that is the sub-keywords here, and it will give you your relevance, volume, and competition metrics as well. So you can then export this into a CSV, right? And you can then actually turn that into whatever brief document or whatever you want to from here. But this is perfect, right? Literally, this should be the exact kind of style you want. So this is extremely usable. We literally built this from 3 or 4 clicks, and now we have got around 20 different pages that we can make. And again, this is using, I think, the fewest or few options. So if we went with the most, we'd have 100 different pages we could create out the box with this tool.
And is this stuff working then? I mean, we hear horror. I mean, we rode the AI bubble. It felt like once Google sort of slapped everybody, and it felt like all the AI content was demoted. We're still obviously seeing it in the SERPs. What is the? I mean, can we produce topical maps? Then can we produce the content with Cuppa with some human editing, and then we buy some white hat digital PR links from Linkify, and that's the magic gravy? Is that working?
So it depends on your site, right? Number one, this works better than ever in e-commerce, for example, right? It works better than ever in SaaS, right? It's only really affiliate and blogging, and even to an extent, blogging is your core offer, is your blog. Right? If your core offer is e-commerce and you're selling products or services, and you have a blog on your side, that still works phenomenally well with this specific methodology. And even here, right, as an example, right, out the box, again, because we're in v1.0 and we haven't done all of the additional settings and procedures, and you can't input your site and things like that, when you input your site, right, if your site is e-com, it's going to be able to define that your site is e-com, and it will change this. So these will no longer be blog-oriented content pieces. These will be your service pages or something like that, right? Because it will be defined on how the intent of this page matches your website and matches the SERP. At the moment, it's purely basing it on this is going to be content level pages. In the future, we're hoping that it will do that. And like I said, it's only really affiliates and bloggers that got hit. Everybody else is thriving, and this works better than ever in those other verticals.
And as well, it's allowing you to produce, especially with ecom. We've seen that with clients as well, ecom thriving, but obviously there's a real use case behind the site itself, isn't there? So all this is doing is adding value to you and your business and your offerings to you and your customers by covering everything. It makes sense for them not to have been hit.
Just to add to it as well, this is how we recommend you do your URL structuring as well, right? Where everything is split into its correct subfolder, and that you have everything supporting it going back up the chain. And then hopefully holistically across your entire website, you then become a topical authority in individual things. So with this specific thing, let's say you were an agency. So you're an agency offering ORM, SEO, digital PR, the whole board, right?
Shebang.
I would probably, exactly, the whole shebang. I would probably turn this into its own thing. So I'd put like /digital PR /public relation strategies, and maybe even then I would change online reputation management and stuff like that. Becomes, this isn't 100% out of the box, and nothing in AI and SEO should be, right? You should always have some SEO intuition, some SEO expertise, and manual analysis, research, editing, the whole kind of shebang. You should have all of that on top. This is just saving you the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of initial research and creation and, making your CSVs and stuff from the get-go. That's saving you all that time. But you should still edit this, and you should not build this from out the box.
Okay. Charles, awesome. So we've covered Parasite, SEO.com, Topical Map AI, Cuppa, new version launching in a couple of weeks, I believe.
16th of September.
16th of September. Okay, we've done the lay of the land with SEO. I mean, it's changing every few weeks, so we'll have you on again and we'll find out what's going on, where we're at. Anything else that you're working on that's interesting?
I've got a SaaS in the works that I can't talk about.
Okay, brilliant.
And then always doing deals and always hustling and things. I've got a lot of recent consulting clients, actually. So from the August core update, I think one of my clients had the best reported growth out of any site, right? So they are double their traffic that they were prior to the September helpful content update. So they're actually double what they were before HCU, right?
Wow.
And so they're killing it at the moment. And I posted their mini case study on Twitter and LinkedIn, and I had about 6 or 7 new clients off of one post, right?
Nice.
Just from consulting last month. So I've been doing a lot of consulting recently because I've just got a lot of new clients. But yeah, that's mainly it. I just try and focus on SaaS at the moment because that's how I see the most opportunity. Okay,
awesome. Well, Charles, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much. What is your last thing? Where can people find you if they want to?
Yeah, well, always a pleasure with you as well, Chris. They can find me on Twitter at Charles_SEO. You can go to charlesfloate.com, charlesfloatetraining.com, or any of the tools, ParasiteSEO.com, Cuppa.ai, or topicalmap.ai.
Awesome. Charles, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.